Hello you beauties! So it's World Book Day. World Book Day. I was going to say, I think they only celebrate it in England. Then I realised it's called World Book Day. So of course it's celebrated all around the world. And mainly it's lots of kids going to school in costumes and stuff. I did think about making a costume and I was like, no, you are on deadlines for work. You can't make a costume today, but I'd have liked to. I think I'd have dressed as Eliza Doolittle in Pygmalion. That would have been my costume for today, which is not very far away from how I normally dress anyway. But I wanted to come with some of my books. I am book mad, if you don't know. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Ruby from Dotty Delightful. That's my business name. And I'm a zine maker, an artist, a designer, and a moss lover, a bloomer wearer, a plant lover, and a book lover. So I'm all the things. And yeah, this is a small collection of my books. I've got tons of books, lots of them. I am actually book mad. So I want to tell you today about some of my favourites in the hopes that it'll inspire you to go and get a book from the library or from a bookshop or wherever and just turn off the TV for a bit, get off your phone for a bit and read a book. Because to me, books are another world in my brain. It's like I imagine what the characters look like, what they sound like. It just takes me away. It takes me away out of life, reality, into somewhere magical, just somewhere fantastic. Now I read a big mixture of self-help books, fiction and non-fiction, and mainly they're all to do with nature and magic and women. Nature, magic and women. Oh, and creativity. Yeah, I think that sums it up. In fact, that sums up my whole life. Everything I do is about nature, magic, women and creativity. All my zines, my Patreon membership, like everything. That's really interesting. Never realised that before. So let's start, should we? Let's get into it. So the first book, or books, I'm going to tell you about are by an author called Lisa Lister. Now, she's got more books than this, but I didn't get them all off the shelf, and I haven't got a new one yet. I really want that one. These two are amazing. So, first of all, let's talk about Witch. Witch is, honestly, it's a book that when I read it, it felt like coming home. It felt like I could finally step into me and allow myself to fully embrace who I am. It's a beautiful book. It's got all about the different kinds of witches. It's got all about the energy of the wheel of the year, the sabbats, everything like that. Casting circles, working with the elements of nature. It's got all sorts in it, and it's great for not only for a beginner witch. So if you're a beginner, it's a really good book, but it's also good for if you've been practicing for a long time but you've still not come out the broom closet. It is definitely one for you. I absolutely love it. I've read it and I dip into it loads of times, especially when I feel like I'm wavering a little bit on fully aligning myself. So I recommend it massively. Read that one. Love Your Lady Landscape is a book that I recommend is given to all teenage girls. They should all read this. It should be given out in school instead of the sex education with them weird videos that they show them. Give them this to read because it is amazing, absolutely amazing. It's all about your lady landscape. It's about your moon cycles. It's about your feminine, your womb space. Even if you've not got a womb, if you've had a hysterectomy or anything, it's still about that power portal of magic that is your womb space. It's about your menstruation cycles and tuning into them and using them as a superpower. So this is a book for every woman that really needs to tune in to her womb space and about trusting your lady landscape, because she is a beautiful, powerful guide. So that is one that I highly recommend. Definitely. Next we have got Alice Hoffman. I adore Alice's books. These are fiction books. You've all probably heard of this one, Practical Magic. There's a whole series of these and I've read them all. But I borrowed all the others from the library and my friend gifted me this one. So, pardon me, sorry. These are really good. These are really good to get lost into. And if you've not seen the movie with the same name, go and watch it because you'll blunking love it. You really will. So that's a really nice fiction book to read. Another fiction book that's really lovely is this one, The Language of Flowers. So The Language of Flowers started out in Victorian times, and it basically means that each flower has a meaning. So in Victorian times, if you gave a posy to somebody and it had certain flowers in it, it was like a secret message to that person. And this is all about a girl who has nowhere to go, and she gets the gift. She doesn't get the gift, she has the gift of plants and gardening and flowers and stuff, and she ends up working at a florist, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. It's really lovely, so I highly recommend that one to get lost in. The one I'm reading at the moment is by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, Elizabeth Gilbert is one of my favourite authors. She writes amazing books. She's also written Big Magic, which is another amazing book. We'll talk about that in a minute. This one, though, oh my goodness. My friend sent me this. And the weird thing is, she sent it me and I put it on the bookshelf because I was reading a different book at the time. And I'd forgotten about it. And then a few weeks ago, I saw a girl on a TikTok video, saying about the books that she loves. And she showed this one. And I was like, oh, that looks a really good book. I'll get it. So I went online to look at the bookshop to get it. And then I saw the cover of it again and I thought, sure, I've got that book already. So I went downstairs, went to the bookshelf. There it was. As if by magic. So it's fantastic. It is the most, I've not finished it. I've got, look, I'm savouring the last tiny little bit to read tonight. Oh, and then I'll be bereft because it'll be finished. It's about a lady called Alma. And Alma is the daughter of a botanist, and she loves moss. And I can't say too much because if you're going to read it, I don't want to give anything away about the story. I don't want to say anything that is going to give you clues to what happens. But let's just say she goes on a journey, a personal journey and an actual journey. And it is a brilliant book. It's, as I've read through it, it's become one of my favourite books. I've got lots of favourite books, but this has really become one of my favourites. It's everything I imagined I would be if I lived in the 1800s. I just love it. So read that one. That's another fiction book. Read that one. And the other book by Elizabeth Gilbert is Big Magic. So if you're creative, this is a really good book. This is one of the best creative books to read. It gives you a sense of yourself, and that she goes into her own process of creativity, and that allows you and offers you permission to go into yours, which is really good. The other book that she's done is Eat, Pray, Love, which is also a film, and that's another lovely story. I didn't like the book as much as the film, and I think that's just because I'd already seen the film. If I'd read the book first, I'd probably have loved that more. And I don't love that as much as The Signature of All Things, but it's still a good book. Next we come to Lucy H Pearce, and I have got lots and lots of her books, lots of them. This one though, did something to me in a way I didn't know needed healing. It spoke to me. So I grew up near the sea, in a seaside town, and the beach and the sea was always a place that called to me, and still does call to me. When I feel like nervous or overwhelmed or anything like that, my favourite place to go is to the beach and to just look at the vast expanse of the sea and just to feel, to smell the sea air, to feel the sand, to just all the things that comes with going to the sea. And I read this because I grew up by the sea and I love the sea so much. This goes deeper. This goes like so deep into our connection with the sea and the feminine, the divine feminine, the feminine in ourselves, and it is almost like you're reading it and like you're meditating at the same time, and you go into a dreamlike state of being one with the water. That sounds really like deep and stuff, but honestly, it is transformative. This book. And it is one that I'll keep reading and reading and reading. It's beautiful. Any books by Lucy H Pearce are amazing. She's also got this one, Creatrix, which is another one that I highly recommend for creative people. It's just fantastic. It goes through all of the different ways in your life that you're creative, and it's just lovely. I just love it. You can go online and have a look and read about it, because I'm not explaining it very well at all, but it's a really nice book. Lucy H Pearce has got loads of books. So we've got Medicine Woman as well, and I don't think I've got any other books over here. They'll be over on my bookshelf, but she's done some brilliant books. Anyway, check her out, and I highly recommend She of the Sea. The next book that I'm going to talk about is this one. It's called The Healing Code of Nature, and this time it's by a guy. I don't actually read many male authors, and this one is a factual book mixed with science and eco kind of psychology. So there's part of this in this book that I read, and it just amazed and shocked me. I love trees. I love being in the forest and in the woods, and I already knew that they did something to you. They heal you in some way, but I didn't know the science behind it or what was going on. And in this book, he tells you about how trees give off something called terpenes, this organic compound that's really healing to humans, and they give it off between I think it's like 3 foot to 10 foot, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's something like that, and it's basically the height of humans would be. And in the summer they give off loads, and in the winter you have to feel them. And I don't know if this is where tree hugging came from, but you have to touch them to get the same terpenes. And there's also a study in this book which I found really fascinating, and it was about if you were in hospital and your view was of a brick wall outside the window, you would heal less quickly than if your view was of trees outside the window. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So it's got all studies in it as well, scientific studies, and it's a really good, interesting book because I'm very spiritual and feeling and all that kind of side of it with nature, and this rooted me more into the actual science of why and where that comes about. So that's a good book to read. This is quite a new book for me. I got it on a whim. I went to Waterstones. There is lots of other good bookshops, by the way. I'm not affiliated with Waterstones. I just like it in there because it smells nice. But I went to Waterstones and saw this book, and it was an impulse buy because the illustrations are flipping amazing. So it's all about folklore all around the world, and I got it. My excuse for getting it was, oh, I could read that for my zines. But really, I got it because the illustrations are just gorgeous. Absolutely. Look. And it's stories from all around the world, so each thing is themed, like this is flowers, but each little snippet is from all different folklore around the world. Look at this page. That's me. That's me collecting moss. Look, I think I'm going to get myself a scarf like that and make myself a skirt. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. So as a visual feast for one's eyes, I highly recommend this. And one day I sat down with it and I read the whole thing in one go, and I just love it. Absolutely love it. Yes, it's beautiful. Just so lovely. A fantastic book. The next book I'd like to talk about, which is also beautiful, is Rituals for Life. This is a fantastic book, and I was lucky enough to win it on Instagram in a competition, and I'm so glad I did. Look, she's written to me inside. Isn't that beautiful? And this is all about creating meaningful rituals in your life through the seasons. So I'm just going to find some pictures to show you. It's just gorgeous. It's illustrated so beautiful. And do you know what I love about this book? It smells nice, because some books smell weird, don't they? This smells nice, and the pages feel beautiful. They've got that soft eco feel. Just gorgeous. It's just such a lovely book. And look, each season's got its own section, and it goes through things that you can do, practical things, and also about the energy as well of the season. So we're coming into spring soon, aren't we? Which is really exciting. So let's find spring. So that's the page for spring, and then it'll tell you all about what happens in spring and then the rituals that you can do. And this little bookmark, actually, that's in my book, I want to show you this because it's adorable. And it's by Tangled Muses on Instagram. She's my friend and she's lovely. And she creates the most beautiful nature-inspired art. So check her out too. Lovely book. Really lovely book. And then this book's very different for me. And I hate the way that it's called The Complete Idiot's Guide, because we're not idiots. We just don't know what we don't know. We're not idiots. I hate that with a passion. I like to scribble it out, actually. But I want to talk about this book, Tantric Sex. Each chapter is a different section. So you start at the beginning and you go through, and each chapter is a different section to teach you about tantric sex, and then it's not up to like chapter 13 or something that you actually do practical things in it. So my partner and I, sorry, I'm going to cough. Oh dear. My partner and I have been together for 16 years, and like many couples, life took over everything, and we realised that we actually needed to do something that was more harmonious and more spiritual in our relationship than what we'd done before. So I'd had this book for ages and we'd not actually looked at it, and then we started looking at it, and it's so good because it's not actually, let's cover the sex bit up, it's the tantric bit that's the important part of it. It's about a deeper connection. It's about seeing each other's souls and feeling the feelings and the emotion and the touching of how your skin actually really feels, how every bump and hair, and how breath is so important, and meditation, and it's all that part of it, which is a really important bit, the connection, the deep connection of your body. Like, it doesn't actually matter in when you're doing a practice. It's not, so your wobbly bits, how fat you are, or how, you know, you've got a spot on your face, or whatever it is that you like think, oh, that's terrible. And what in a lot of movies, I don't know if I can say the word on here, but you know what kind of movies, rude movies, let's say, they show it in a very physical, perfected way, and we're not like that. And also, it's got to have more meaning. If you're in a committed, loving relationship, it's got to have more meaning than what we see in them movies. So this is a fantastic book. Apart from the name of it, it's really good. There's parts in it that I don't like, where the author tells you stories about, I don't know, Hillary and James from wherever. Do you know what I mean? And what they did. That's boring. But each part of it is making sure that there's no dodgy pictures. Each part of it is set out in such a way that each chapter is really easy to read. And the way that we do it is we have chosen some really nice clothes, some really soft feeling clothes. They're not raunchy or anything, they're just really nice to feel. And we put those on, so that makes us, our minds and everything, connect with, that it's a sacred time. And then we sit in meditation and we sit together, and we light the candles, we burn the incense, all that kind of stuff. And then I read a chapter out of the book and then we discuss it. And then if there's practical things in it, we can do them. And to be honest, there's parts in it that are very yoga based, and you'd have to be quite flexible and in really good shape to do them. And we're both not that. But you find your own way of doing things. So, you know, it's a book where we pick and choose, we pick a mix, I suppose. We pick a mix from what we can do, but the idea is it opens up communication and it opens up the feelings and the emotion that's often missing when you've lived a life together and you've had kids and you work and you this, that and the other, do you know? So I highly recommend that to any relationship where both partners are open to trying different things. I mean, we've laughed and laughed and laughed. Some of the things we're in stitches, and that's brilliant in itself, just laughing. So I really recommend that book. But like I say, I don't like the name of it. It's not a good name. Another book that I really like is this one, and it's beautiful. It's by Philippa Stanton, and it's called Conscious Creativity. Philippa makes jigsaws of her flat lays. She's also on Instagram. And this is a book that I sat down to read, and I didn't move all day. I just read the whole thing in one day, because it speaks to me in volumes, and it makes me feel like, oh, I'm not alone in my creative consciousness and creativity, because whenever I go outside, my eyes are everywhere. I'm listening, I'm seeing, I'm smelling, I'm feeling, I'm touching, especially North, all the stuff. And I think lots of people just walk down the street and they're just going to the destination. They're not noticing these little things, and that's what makes your life incredible and magical. And then you incorporate that into your own creative practice. So that's a really nice book for creativity. That's a really lovely book too. That also feels really nice, like the Rituals book. That feels really good. Oh, sorry. Another book that I really like is this one by Tamara Laporte, and it's a Create Your Life book, and her illustrations are just gorgeous. They're just really lovely. And she's got tons of YouTube videos to teach you art and creative practices and mixed media and everything. I just like it because it just inspires me. If I'm having a creative block, I do one of her exercises out of it, and it's really lovely. I feel like I've talked for ages about books, and I've not even touched the surface yet. There's so many books that I could tell you about, but I don't want to overwhelm you in this one video because I've talked a lot. So my favourite authors are Marc Allen, who actually I didn't bring any books, they're over on my shelf, but Marc Allen is really lovely. He has meditations too. Lisa Lister, Lucy H Pearce, Elizabeth Gilbert, and I'm missing somebody. Who was the other one that I'm missing? Oh, Alice Hoffman. So they're my favourite authors. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed listening and looking at my books, and I hope that you've been inspired to get some of your own. And please let me know in the comments your favourite books, because I'm always on the lookout for new books. I just love them. And if you're a bookshop or you're an author and you'd like to send me a book, I'm open and available to that. Thank you, universe. Definitely. So here's just a little selection, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a wonderful World Book Day, and I shall see you soon. And if you've liked stuff like this, check out my Patreon page. It's also called Dotty Delightful, where I have different tiers. I have a zine tier. A zine is a mini magazine, and the name comes from fanzine. I make seasonal zines and Circle of Witches zines. I also make zines for children as well. That's on there, or you can get them from my Etsy, also called Dotty Delightful. And also on my Patreon, I've launched, it's called Wild Creative Woman, and it's a beautiful membership where we have moon circles, we have business talk in a creative, sustainable and heartfelt way. We talk about books, we talk about nature, we talk about all the things, and I also design and make printables for my Wild Creative Women to go in their grimoires or in their scrapbooking books or junk journals, and it's just a lovely place to be. So do check that out. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.